Assalamu alaikum. Abdul Abbott, we back at it. All power to the Jamaat. All right, so we got this interview right here with an ex Ahmadi. I actually seen some of his family members look just alike. I know they were family and they were from up north. Just alike, strong genes. Got nothing bad to say about the brother. Don't know the brother. Me, I'm new in the Jamaat. I'm trying my best to be an active member. But me having my background, my ancestry within Wafdeen Muhammad's group and also the Nation of Islam, I just had to look at this. I gotta get to work soon. I'm sorry for missing some content today. I had to do some prayer, some sleeping. I had some fufu and goosey with oxtails, and I was KO. Shout out to Nene Tuti. Sorry, my love, I was sleeping all day. Astaghfirullah. Let's check this out. This is an Ahmadi fact checker blog. This is a naysayer of the Jamaat. Some say he's salty. Some say he has legal issues. I don't know what happened with him, but this is his interview with Dr. John Morrow. Speaking of doctors, just because you have a label don't mean you know anything. It could just mean indoctrination and perpetuating Dajjal. All right, so this is Bashir Ahmed, ex Ahmadi, and suspected white supremacist, Dr. John. All right, let's go.
Dr. Morrow, who wrote the book Finding Farad. It's in my opinion the most important book on the topic. If you're researching the topic here in 2024, it's the book you want to start with. It'll lead you to other books, and it really helped me a lot to understand what's going on with Farad Wallace or whatever, however you want to say his name. So with that, Assalamu alaikum, brother. Welcome, Dr. Morrow. Uh, uh, how's it going? The ball's in your court.
No, walaikum salam. I'm doing fine, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Subhanallah, doing great, brother.
That's fantastic.
Well, let's just jump right into it. I I wrote a bunch of questions, and we're just gonna go straight from the top. So so the research. So what popped out at me in terms of something that was missing, or something that I thought was missing, from some of the research work that I saw, was and I'm not even know I don't even know if this phraseology is correct, but the indigenous sheikhs. I think I
Okay.
saw this. I think I saw this in Dannon's book. Was it Dannon who coined the term? Probably.
Right.
Um, I don't exactly.
Check his face, John's little body language. He said, right. Check his body language when Bashir is laughing about the indigenous sheikhs. If you're from somewhere, what is that? What does that call you? What is people always like to say, like to put where people were from, specifically my people of America, the Black Muslims, the indigenous people of this continent. Clearly, I've done a DNA test, and clearly shows that I do have Native American ancestry, and my father told me it was Cherokee, which I believe, but then the DNA shows it traced all the way back to Mayan DNA down in the Yucatan and southern Mexico and Salvador, things like that. So I just want to give that pretense so you can see this arrogance of this clear man right here.
remember, but so first question, what did you think about the indigenous sheikhs? And what was
See that smirk? See that little smirk he had? That's a crusader smirk, right? That's a colonizing smirk right there. He's gonna tell me what I am and what to call me, and then double back on it, and then say that there are some black natives. But then why, when we say that we are native and of African and clearly of European, why can't that all be accepted? Why do we have to be just straight from Negro land? And that's what Nigeria was called. It's called Negro land. Africa was broken up into places such as um, the land of shrimp. Let's go get shrimp there. The gold place, the place of ivory, the spice place. Yeah. Okay. Of course, he likes that. It fits his narrative of white supremacy.
this the main factor in African Americans being empowered and creating their own version of Islam?
Yeah. So the term indigenous sheikhs, I know it's popular, and I know some, African American Muslims refer to themselves as, we're like the indigenous Muslims of this land.
And then you're referring to African American Muslims as African American. Some people are called a nation within themselves, all right, such as Ibrahim, or also the son of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Zaid. Okay, he was enslaved, and then Muhammad adopted him. The slavery was abolished by Muhammad. Now, after he passed away, your sect, Ahl Hadith, went right back into slavery, destroying people and disheveling lineages and bloodlines. And here you are again, chopping up the world into your liking. Also, we do not follow Jesse Jackson. He's not a spokesman for Black Americans. Okay, we don't know about Africa. Also, the Navajo are from Siberia, and it's been recorded and documented that they got to the Americas in the 1500s. Do you call them Siberian or do you call them indigenous? Clearly, you're a white supremacist. Suspected. Sorry.
And to kind of distinguish themselves from like immigrants and the children of immigrants. However, when this term is used abroad, especially, but also here in the West, it confuses some people because when you hear indigenous, some people think First Nations,
Some people, I wonder who some people are. It's white people that's chopping up the world and also being $5 Indians and joining tribes, which is true. And a lot of African Americans also believe that they are indigenous and aren't, and it's really just because the trauma of being mixed with the likes of you, Andrew Morrow, if you're American.
Native people, and so on. And there are indigenous people, literally indigenous people who are Muslims. But when you're a black person saying you're indigenous, it's going to confuse some people.
It doesn't matter if it confuses them. People are confused about molecules. It doesn't change the fact that the air is made of molecules. When you stick your hand out the window, you're going to feel them compressed in your hand. You like the narrative of your white world. Why can't we say that we're indigenous? Are we not? If a Yahudi, if a Netanyahu can claim Ibrahim from what, 5,000 years ago and claim that and have their country, do you know how little that would show up in the genetic scope? And I literally have about, what was it like, 4, 5? Yeah, about 5%, which is Southeast Asian and the indigenous culture. So a lot of the indigenous tribes, I actually have Asian DNA because they are from Asia. Some of them, right? Also, what about Mansa Musa coming over? What about all the Moors that came over? That helped Yat Jews were Mat Jews. Okay, these people were Ahlul Hadith, and they perpetuated slavery. It has been romanticized, but these were not good people. Okay,
But yeah, I mean, African American, Black American sheikhs, sure. Now, you've done a lot of work on this, on these indigenous sheikhs and so on. And these Ahmadi Qadiani missionaries, some of them who went rogue, you refer to them as rogue missionaries. And it's true, some of them broke away and they had to fund themselves, some in ingenious ways. A lot of them were hustlers and so on, just trying to get by. Um, yeah. So the role of the Ahmadiyya. Hmm. Now, there is one section in my book that deals with the Ahmadi influence, or the possible or potential influence of that version of Islam on the teachings of W.D. Farad. And there is no doubt that they did influence him. I don't believe he was an official member of their group. I don't think there's any evidence to support that. He did attend their mosques. He did read their literature, their commentaries of the Quran, and so on. And so he borrowed from them. But we have to kind of understand the psychology of W.D. Farad. He was a person who was going around. I mean, he viewed Islam basically, and it wasn't just Islam, It was like a banquet. It was a buffet. It was like not even that. It was like a grocery store. So he felt, at least in his mind, that he could pick and choose this and that and mix it together. He was just mixing ingredients and cooking them up like gumbo. So he was drawing from all kinds of different interpretations of Islam, many different traditions, but also he was taking things from 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 Christianity. Um, uh, from the Protestants and so on, many different groups. Um, yeah, for even from like the 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 Moors, the Moorish Science Temple of Islam. There's influence there. I mean, there's a whole list, a whole list. He was taking things from Muslims and from Christians, even from Jewish people. So yeah, and so your work is very interesting. If anyone wants to research the history of Islam among, Americans or Black Americans, I think the starting point should be this volume here, which is a history of a history of
He's telling you if you want to learn about the history of Islam within Black indigenous Americans to buy his book. You could just ask me. You could just look at my grandparents' interviews. You know, see, this is the white supremacist mindset that I'm talking about. Plug in your book and you're talking about, oh, if you want to know about the broobly babbly beebly, read my book. Yeah, no. Don't buy his book. Don't buy this. Yat Juge. Well, Matt Juge book, you know what I mean? That He's already naysaying something that's clear. And later on you will see that he says some indigenous people are really white, loves these blonde hair, blue eyed, yeah. And then some are actually, really black, like some in Detroit and stuff like that. If you're saying that, then why can't you say, oh, it's because you're judging us of what your mindset of what a Native American is. Okay? It's because you're a colonizing cracker that joined Islam, Ahlul Hadith. Even worse, that's like double racist. All right.
conversion to Islam in the United States by a scholar by the name of Patrick D. Bowen. He's got two volumes. Volume two is the one I have here, is the African American Islamic Renaissance, and it covers the period from 1920 to 1975. He also has another volume, volume one. I have it
What do you say, Patrick D. Bolden? Let's see who this person is. Hold on.
over here, which is a history of conversion to Islam in the United States, volume one, white American Muslims before 1975. And so it's the history of conversion to Islam. That was published by Brill. So one deals with like black people, one deals with white people. He also has a third volume that he's been
Both of them are not indigenous Americans at all. Those people that wrote those books.
working on for like years and years and years. And I look forward to reading that as well. And so, you asked me about people like Sheikh Ahmadi, Wali Akram, and all of these other people. And so, I went through this encyclopedia, and there are references here and there to some of these characters. Sometimes it's just a passing reference. Sometimes the author goes in greater detail. He devotes several pages, or yeah, quite a few pages on some of these people. Um, However, so definitely that's the starting point, and I would encourage you to read what has been done. There's no point of reinventing the wheel. However, your focus is very precise and it's very
Where did the will come from, John Andrew? Hmm? Where did the will come from? You're going to say Europe when there's Neo-Paleolithic paintings of whales in North Africa before the so-called Berbers were there, who are clearly not from Africa. It is proven that North Africa was populated by what white supremacists, not right supremacists, white supremacists called sub-Saharan to chop up the world more and to demonize black people, make them subhuman. Okay, such tribes as the Luya, the Lwa, and the Maasai and the Dinka, so the world's tallest, darkest people, populated northern Africa. And actually, it was lush. They had greenery, they had elephants, they had giraffes up there. okay? But you are an evil Dajjali. So you don't want to talk about that, and you also want to discredit indigenous black people of the Americas and of North Africa.
Specific. It's about the Ahmadis, the Qadianis, and so on, and their connection to Black Islam. So that's a very, very important line of inquiry and research. And I'm glad that you're publishing about it. You're digging, you're looking up articles, you're checking references. So this could shed a great deal of light on the history of Islam in the United States. And it's interesting to the Ahmadis as well. I mean, they would benefit from this. And I know that they have like historical researchers and websites where they study these things. And you're doing it as well. It's interesting. It's fascinating. It's worthwhile. And so, you mention these people, and then I look them up in this encyclopedia, and then I go and I read what you've written about them, and I say, wow, you have found things that other scholars have not found. You're addressing issues that have not been addressed before. And so it's fascinating. I haven't read every single thing that you've published to date, but I will, just like I keep track of scholarship in the field and other experts and researchers and scholars and colleagues who are working on the topic. So mashallah, keep up the good work. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, and I'm not the only one who's just fascinated with this history. It's so intriguing. Yeah, so
Sounds good. Really well.
there.
Let me go a little bit more in depth here. The Qadiani MDs, and the reason I'm saying it that way is because there's multiple
Yes.
sects.
So I'm sorry, that was like the weakest, fakest. That was the weakest, fakest mashallah I have ever. Mashallah, like yo, woo.
Yes.
Sects. And so their fourth Khalifa, Mirza Tahir Ahmad, who's the grandson of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, about 30 years ago, out of nowhere, he admits that Elijah Muhammad, he visited the Mufti Muhammad Sadiq in some of his speeches. He was there, and I was so shocked to hear that. They have no evidence to prove it, nothing, not even from hearsay. Like, who would they have got this from? It would have had to been Mufti Muhammad Sadiq saying it somewhere. Then they don't have that. But if the fourth Khalifa says it, then there's something there, or maybe he didn't reveal his reference. Whatever the situation is, he says that Elijah Muhammad was there in 1921 at the Ford Motor Company, had some kind of meeting, and they had Mufti Muhammad Sadiq was allowed to speak to some of the workers.
I do find that extremely funny. This big Ford industry, Detroit, Motor City, things like that, and then he chose the name as Farad or Ford, Wallace D. Ford. I found that very interesting and suspicious.
Or something like that. And then, like, I think right after the American Negro, I forget what it's called. It was like the Marcus Garvey.
The UNIAA. That's what it was called. Marcus Garvey's movement.
Yes.
Organization. He spoke to them, and in fact, some of the Garveyites, he made them into a sheikh. Now, so I wanted to ask you about this. Is this? I mean, have you heard of any religious group? Because we know the Druze. You can't even be a member of the Druze. I don't even think they allow membership. Right. But if you could,
I stood for the United Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, UNIA. Then it became UNIAA, things of such.
Comment on that. What type? How?
I'm really just making this. I'm putting this out there, so I want us indigenous black sheikhs in Americans, other than what this colonizer skinhead is talking about. I want y'all to realize that Islam that we have and the basis of knowledge of self and all these things stems from Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. And I think we should check out Islam Ahmadiyya, the Jamaat. You will see so many coinciding, facts and themes and views and things that fueled even the Black Power movement within the Jamaat. I just want my people to actually just give it a chance and read some of these things. Read the philosophy and teachings of Islam. Just read that. Just read that one book. Let me know what you think. It's free on alislam.org, I believe. We have a website.
In the psychology, someone is making you a sheikh, even though you're not qualified. And there was a white guy in there too from New Orleans, J.L. Mott, who went missing also, but he made him a sheikh. So if you could comment on that.
Yeah. So there are people who make all types of like wild claims. And so, as scholars and academics and researchers, we don't take these things at face value. We have to look at what are the motivations. And we know that some of these religious leaders, they want to give themselves importance and validity and relevance. And so, like, they try to claim people. And so you have someone like Malcolm X, and the Black Muslims claim him, and the socialists claim him.
What do you mean the Black Muslims claim him? He is and was a Black Muslim. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, caveman? Hmm? What are you talking about, you Japhite? What are you talking about, you Russian possum? What are you talking about? See, this is the shit that the devil likes to do, and just because I'm white and I say so, you think you have authority? No, no. Please take care of that skin. It looks dangerous. Okay, look like you can't go outside. Okay, sir. Shout out to my white Ahmadis though, man. With this brother right here, no. Like, come on. What do you know?
And even Osama bin Laden claimed him. No, come on, Malcolm X would never have been like a radical Islamist
I don't know when Osama bin Laden did that. This is the first time we hearing that.
jihadist or anything like that.
Malcolm X was a jihadist. This jihad nafs. Okay, is the idea that also comes from the Nation of Islam, which got it from Ahmadi. Okay, so that is jihad. All right, battling yourself, your soul was right. Okay, and also defending himself from America, which were persecuting him. People were being killed. Let's not act like your people haven't done anything here, John Andy Morrow. Okay.
He was a very intellectual person. So all kinds of people.
Are you going to try to tell us about our shining king, Malcolm? Okay. Okay.
Will try to claim these figures in order to boost their credibility and their importance and so on, right? So maybe some of that is going on. And again, when you're making these claims like 70 years after the fact, or 100 years after the fact, unless you can prove it, then it just doesn't hold water. Yeah. Now, in terms of making people sheikhs, yes, we find a lot of this when we study about the spread of Islam in the United States, in the Western world in general, where you will have a convert who's like suddenly made a sheikh, right? And sometimes now, perhaps some of these people had studied Islam before, yeah, perhaps, and so they had a good knowledge.
Here's the age-old, definition of what a sheikh is. Ahl Hadith, or these Sunni Salafi people, they all want you to go to their schools with their indoctrinations, with their Hadith chains, with what they say, and what they express what is Muslim, which is anti-Muslim to say someone is not Muslim, because it already says there's 73 sets, 73 Muslim sets, and only one will be chosen into Jannah. So that is you already. It's like, I swear it is like a Masonic thing or something to hide information and to just distort it. This is all Dajjal. It's like him talking about the indigenous black people. I have literally on this page proof of my indigenous American side. No, I'm not saying I'm 100% Tonto, you know what I'm saying, or Geronimo. No, but that is my ancestry. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the same thing to the Jews. He said, "I am your brother. I am of you also." They laughed in his face. Okay, so is that not the same thing? Okay, Allah Hadith is always doing these double standards. All right. Yes, I am related to these native peoples of this land and of Africa, and unfortunately of Europe. Okay, unfortunately. So technically, I could be Rum. Okay, I could be of the people of Rome. There were black Romans too. They weren't just full-blooded, just African slaves. And now, mind you, watch within this segment, he's going to keep referring to black people anywhere in antiquity in the world to slavery. Okay, fire upon that, fire upon him. All right, that is a white supremacist mindset.
Knowledge, or a relatively good knowledge of the faith. And so what did it actually mean when they were saying this is a sheikh? Were they saying that this person is an alim, they're a mushtahid, they're a mufti, anything like that? They're a spiritual leader, they're able to initiate people into a tariqah? No, quite often it just meant you're a missionary or you're just an elder, right? Like sheikh has different meanings. In Arabic, sheikh is just an elder, okay, a leader, someone you treat with respect. It's different. It's also used in terms of someone who has formal Islamic education and they're a bona fide sheikh. So, you refer to, in Arabic to elderly people as sheikh and so on. Um, Even political leaders in the Arab world, you refer to them using these titles, but they're not claiming to be religious authorities. So maybe that's going on. Um, we have like the Mariamia Tariqa, which was founded by Fritjof Schuon, um, which is another. I mean, this is very popular among certain like white intellectuals and so on who converted to Islam. Now, Schuon, of course, claimed to have been made a sheikh, right? And that he had an ijaza to prove it, and that was disputed. And if he received one, it was just a general ijaza or permission to disseminate Islam. Or basically, it's just a sheikh saying, okay, you got some pretty good knowledge, enough to do dawah, right? Enough to call people to the path. And that's very different than to say, like, you're a qualified sheikh, the leader of a spiritual path in Islam.
If it just means elder, what is your qualm? Because these things are set up by the evil nation of the Al Hadith that perpetuated the trans Saharan slave trade, which then helped out the transatlantic slave trade. These were Sunni Muslims that did this. This was the amalgam, this was the majority. Okay. See how he talks because I'm white and I say so type of attitude.
So on the one side, you have like these Muslim leaders, coming from the Muslim world or whatever.
Oh, assalamu alaikum. Nene tuti. I'm glad to see you made it. You're doing great work there, mashallah. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my fiance, Nene Tuti. Assalamu alaikum to her.
And they want to give themselves credibility and so on. They want to spread their influence. And so they start selecting these missionaries and they give them these titles. And we also see that some of these converts, to give themselves importance and prestige, start describing themselves as
Yes, the baby sister of the Amir of Sierra Leone, to be exact.
sheikhs. Okay. And some may have described themselves as imams and this and that. Um, some of them were using titles like professor. That was very common among early African American Muslims, that professor this, professor that. Professor of what? You don't have a doctorate, you don't have a master's degree, you don't have a bachelor's degree, you know what? You don't even have a high school education. And in some cases, like Elijah Muhammad, you don't even have an elementary.
And look what he did. Elijah Muhammad changed the world. Who the fuck are you, John Andrew? What have you done? I'm white and I say so. I'm a pink faced demon. You ain't got no credentials. Elijah Muhammad has single handedly changed many lives of African Americans that you say. Okay, these black Americans, black indigenous Americans, all right, that were here before the inundation of the country. So if you're here before something has been founded, what does that make you? If you're not an immigrant, what does that make you? Okay. Elijah Muhammad has generations and generations of getting people sober, getting people into careers, getting people degrees, okay, He had a third grade education. So if anything, that is a miracle from Allah to use that man to clean up black people in America, even when Farad was gone, or even for us losing our way and not knowing about Islam Jamaat Ahmadiyya. But then look at me now. I'm finding out this is the origin of it. Okay? So let's not go there, Dr. John. What have you done for the world? But, you know, get sunburned. Okay.
Education. And so minister isn't good enough, professor isn't good enough. Why don't we just start calling ourselves prophets? Okay, prophets and messengers of God. And so some of these early characters, right? Like one of them.
Okay, yeah, like Noble Drew Ali, yeah, from Newark, my hometown, Newark, New Jersey. A lot of that was going on, this Mati thing going on. Bashir is just laughing. You know, he's a dick rider of hip hop. He don't even know that hip hop was sort of about a nation of 5%, nation of gods and earths, and all that radical shit from Tupac that he loves. He's just another foreigner dick rider. All of that information comes with the Black Panthers, which were inspired by Malcolm X and his heyday within the Nation of Islam, which was sprouted from the Jamaat Ahmadiyya.
Like Paul Nathaniel Johnson, right? Yes, I mean, he started a group called the Ethiopian Temple of Islam. So, you know, he came into Islam really through
I never heard of that. That's interesting.
the Ahmadis and this and that. And, you know, he was identified as a new convert. And then, like, he was on the list of new converts, and they immediately identify him as a sheikh. You're a new convert, and suddenly you're a sheikh. And it wasn't good enough. Eventually, you know, down the road, we have these people. You know, he ended up proclaiming himself a prophet of a certain movement and the leader of the Ethiopian temples of Islam. So yeah, yeah, you know,
that is going on today. People are still using this. It's called being a conjurer, being the spiritual person, being even anyone that goes onto these blogs, you know, trying to be righteous, gangbangers, or selling whatever goodness that they have for views and things like that. This is happening today on these screens right here.
Noble prophets and this and that. So we find a lot of them, right? Like Noble Drew Ali and these people describe themselves as prophets. So I think that's what's going on there. There are, you know, it's all based on personal interest.
Yeah, quick. So, Wali Akram said that Sheikh Ahmadine, aka Paul Nathaniel Johnson, had used a fake accent, and I, you know what, off the top of my head, I can't remember if Wali Akram said that to Dannon, because Dannon interviewed him. Is that accurate?
Right. Well, yeah, I just want to touch about the point you're making.
Grandma calling, see how she doing. Oh, I missed it already. It must have been a mistake.
That all right, now we have to understand where these people are coming from. It was very shameful to be a Negro, as you know, they were described at the time. You know, to be a black man in America in the 1920s and the 1930s, this is something that they wanted to cast off. All right. And so how did they do it? You know, with Noble Drew Ali and his people, we are not Negroes. Okay. We are more.
Negro is something he said want to cast off. So now you're saying we're just Negro. Negro is a word that the slavers got from the Spanish slavers, which just means black. Okay. Filipinos were also Negroes, the original people of that of those islands. They were called Negritos. Those also occupiers, and also blind people that was following the religion of Dajjal, which makes them Yatrus but Matrush. Negro is just a blanketed term that just means black. An Indian can be black as hell. I've seen Pakistani brothers black. What about the people of Papua New Guinea? Okay, do you call them Negroes? Okay, what about the Melanesian islands, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Negroes? Melan, meaning black. It just means black. They're just trying to give themselves an identity because they've had theirs stripping away. But you, Mr. Cracker Slave Master Man, you don't want that. You just want to have us to be niggas. That's what nigger is. Negro, nigger, niggardly, to be in the dark, ignorant. Okay? We don't come from Negro land. We don't come from Nigeria. Nigeria is also a country named from a white woman. Okay, that's not even an indigenous name. Okay, let's get that right there. And look at the passion and the arrogance in this cracker's face, man. Word is born. I call him a cracker because he is cracking up the history and the social hierarchy or whatever construct that we have to be a human. We came from being less than animals and objects. And chattel slavery was something that no one in the world has gone through. I'm sure that you won't even admit that, right? Being tortured, raped in front of our children psychologically, all the way up to Jim Crow era, all the way up to the prison complex and all of that. And you are just saying, oh, to be a black man, to be a Negro, they want to shake that. We are not your Negro. We are not your Negro. Okay, we are Bani Adam. Can you say that? No, because the white power structure obviously helps you out. Okay, obviously, you evil, clear-skinned man.
Wars. All right. And I mean, and they're still around. And I mean, once my wife and we were coming back from the airport. We just came back from abroad.
Listen to this shit right here. And mind you, yes, a lot of these Ahmazig or a lot of these Northern Africans, they also would tear away the history of Africa because they are also occupiers. I was talking to somebody from Algeria online before, and I'm telling them, yeah, Adam is black. Like, what are you talking about? Like, because there's a lot of other people online. There's all these, a lot of ignorance, a lot of, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say my people know everything, but there's a lot of younger people that don't maybe have enough knowledge, a lot of knowledge like I do, right? And they're trying to prove these things about black people, this and black people that, whatever. Okay, whatever, cool. I'm not gonna go in depth to all that because I don't agree with all that shit either. Okay, we are not superhuman. You know what I mean? To be human is super. You feel me? Because Adam was the vice regent of the world. Okay, a black man. So this in Algeria is like, how do you know that they were black and things like that? I'm like, do you not know black mud? Shut him up completely. How do you go do your whole life not skipping over that verse talking about black mud to create Adam? A lot of Saudis do the same thing. Oh no, they were made from sand. They were Adam made from sand. No, nigga, mud, black mud, Hama, whatever it's called, black mud. Okay, Adam alayhi salam, the first prophet. Okay, a black man. All right, I digress.
Um, and the taxi driver, African American, I mean, jet black. And he says, well, where,
Jet black is beautiful. The people of Senegal, some Serera jet black, beautiful people. That's very close to Morocco. Okay, very close.
where are you from, and this and that, and then my wife mentions that she's Moroccan, and he says, well, me too, I'm a Moor, and my wife looks at me like, yeah, right, okay.
We're white. She's a white Arab. White people did everything of significance in the world. Just to let you know, these places were also Roman empires. Okay, these places also were invaded by Arabs and Turks. Okay, and you can literally see in Europe Moorish flags, Moorish shields. There's look up who Saint Casper is of Germany. Black, not Arab black, not smooth, just dark skinned black. No, black, Sambo black, red, big juicy lip black, watermelon black, big eye black, nappy head black, big teeth black, buck dance Sambo black that you like to that you like to show. These people was in Europe and in the Balkans and by the Black Sea. Can you explain that? No, because you're a white supremacist. You're a white supremacist. And that goes hand in hand with Ahl Sunnah wa Jama'ah because they're the ones that kicked off the trans-Saharan slave trade. Muhammad said no slaves. What you do? Peace be upon him. What do you do after he died? You go right against his word, Allah's word. You go right against it. Okay? Let's start there. No, Moors weren't just sub-Saharan black people, which what you call because you're an evil white man. Just like what Middle East is not the Middle East of anything. That's just a cracker mindset. Okay, but it's an amalgam of people, just like the Sahaba. Okay, most of these people were women, freed slaves, Africans. It wasn't a lot of the power structure there. That came later on. So what it would look like, it would look like a bunch of niggas. That's what it'll look like, okay? But you, sir, are a white supremacist, suspectedly.
Right? I'm Moorish. Okay. Now, what is a Moor? Well, a Moor, that refers to people from, the Maghreb,
People from Africa,
from North Africa. It was a term that was
okay?
applied to Moroccans and people from like Mauritania and so on.
Mauritania, what is that? That is a Latin word. People from Mauritania are also black. Now, watch him start talking about slaves. Anytime black people somewhere, he always has to say slaves.
And so these people were primarily Arabs, Arab Berbers, or
See how you say primarily the devil? This is what Dajjal does primarily. Also, Arabs aren't Arabs. What are you talking about? There's a such thing as called the parish Arabs or the true Arabs. Arabs today are also Romans, Ottomans, Central Europeans mixed in. Okay, who is Hajar? Okay, Hajar is a Egyptian woman. Okay, look at Egypt. You can look at Egypt now. These are black people on the walls. Okay, yes, white influxes came through, but the original people of these lands, especially even in Ibrahim alayhi salam's time, these were black people. Okay, so what are you talking about? Oh, what is it, Arab? Ishmael, even if Ibrahim was white from Iraq, even if he was a so-called white, his mother, Ishmael, the mother of Ishmael is Hajar, a slave, right? Because the only thing niggas ever did was be slaves. So that means that Ishmael would be a mulatto, right?
Berbers, because you have Arabs who identify as Arabs and speak Arabic.
Then they already did the DNA of the ancient Egyptians, which is 80% Neo-Paleolithic North African. Okay, you shepherd men weren't there. Okay, you hear the hairy people. Okay, they were not in Africa. Those destroyers, such like the Vandals, the dog hair people, the people with the straight dog hair, right? The baloney mothball smelling people, right? So if he was 80% Paleolithic North African, who was in North Africa Paleolithic times? It was not the Amazigh, it was not the Berbers. Okay, Berbers is just a term from white people that was calling them by barbarians anyway. So then you're doubling down on your racism. You're doubling down on it, and it's spewing through your pores. You're getting more and more red. All right, you're getting more and more pink. You look like a pack of fucking baloney.
And then you have like Berbers who were Arabized and so on and so on. And so, yeah, and some of them have lost their Arabic. I mean, genetically, culturally, and so on, they're Berbers, but they speak Arabic. And then you have like the pure Berbers. They speak Berber. They identify as Berber or Amazigh. So they speak Tamazigh.
Who are not from North Africa. Anyone that has Neanderthal DNA is not from Africa, period. That's a fact. The only time you're going to find Neanderthal DNA is from these Berbers, from these Amazigh, okay? And I believe that these Neanderthals are the ancestors of Yatjuj or Matjuj. These are the creatures that perpetuated underground cities of bones and shit in France and in Europe and in Italy and England and stuff like that. Okay, these disgusting animal people. Now it's become a mindset and it's already too late. So you can either be a good or bad. It's like in the Quran it says these jinn are Muslims, Jews, and Christians. What do little spirits and ghosts need to be Jews and Christians and Muslims for? Like really, these are people.
Or other languages. But yeah, so you have the Arabs and the Arab Berbers, and then you just have the Berbers. Well, these are Moorish people. Okay, so and then there are curious stories of these converts to Islam, claiming to be Moorish. And there was one, he was a slave. And this was back in the period of slavery, that there was one enslaved African American who claimed.
How can you say an enslaved African American? That doesn't even make any sense. A term from Jesse Jackson. Okay. If he was enslaved from Africa, brought to America, he was an African, an enslaved African. Where's Morocco, Africa?
To be actually a Moor. And he fought for his freedom and to be emancipated and everything. And he got shipped back. He was sent back to Morocco. And well, he didn't speak. It became evidence.
We're gonna need you to cite your sources because you know Yachus with Matt Jews was primarily these Eurasians. Okay, let's just keep it G. It's in our literature, the Ahmadiyya. Okay. Um, all you do is lie and use illusion, dajali. So we need to just cite your sources. We're not just gonna listen to you because you're white and you say so. Okay, pink meat.
Very soon to the Moroccan authorities that this person was not Moroccan. Okay, they didn't speak Arabic and so on. I mean, maybe he had come from West Africa or something. He just wanted to get back to Africa some way. So again, they didn't want to. On the one side, it's like black nationalism, and so it wasn't that. They want to flee being black, and so they identified themselves as Moors. Others identified themselves as Native Americans, as indigenous people, right? They claimed that they were Native people because there was less, shame in that than openly identifying. I mean, it was very powerful when Malcolm X started to refer to black people as black. It was very shocking, and then it went to Afro American, African American, Black American, whatever. So yeah.
Why don't you just go with Malcolm X said and say black? You keep putting these ad hominems of people. You keep want to put somebody somewhere where we don't want to be. We don't have to be. We don't have to be just purely West African or sub-Saharan or a subspecies like you're trying to say. Especially if these evil Africans have put us around the tree of forgetfulness and made us drink from the well of forgetfulness. If we don't know who we are, the Back to Africa movement happened on those slave ships when those enslaved people, those captured prisoners, would jump off the boats and drown and become food for sharks and things like that. Okay? Why do we have to do that? It's because you're white and you say so. Okay?
Yeah, they claim to be Moorish. Yeah, they claimed to be indigenous.
Moreno also means black in Spanish. With Reconquista, these people weren't just Arab Berber looking people. Okay, you sir are a hater. And also, us black people don't just come in the form of just being what your typical Negro mindset is. Okay, my father has red hair like you. Okay, stop.
And I mean, Master Farad was giving these people identity cards, making them like citizens of the Nation of Islam, and you are Asiatics. They weren't saying we're Africans, we're proud to be African.
Here comes the devil again. So let's go back to Elijah Muhammad. When he said Asiatic, he said the whole world was Asia. So here comes this cracker trying to tell you lessons from a black man. Okay, if you actually read his fucking book, did any research, which is cock guzzler right here, Bashir got you on here. He don't know shit, right? Asia was a term for Pangea, okay? And the Asiatic black man means the original man of the planet, okay, of the first prophet Adam alayhi salam, the original man of the first prophet, okay. And Asia is what he will call Pangea, which is why people would say we were from America, we are from Australia, we are from Europe, we are from India, we are from China, we are from the Southeast Asia, we are from South America, because all these places, when you go back, you will have indigenous peoples from there that are so-called black. Okay, you go to the Andaman Islands, which is off the coast of the subcontinent of India. Okay, these people are purple black. They have their own phenotype, very strong bones up here, very round faces like Asians. Okay, a lot of people that are Bengali and Nepalese that actually have DNA that's shared with these Andaman Island people, the Jarwara people. All right, somewhere where another honky that tries to go and brings Christianity. This is what Yat Jews, what Matt Jews does. So when they brought this Christianity over to the Jawara people, which was named by the dominant power out there, it's not even their names, they started flinging bows at them and killed them. I think that was a good job. So what Asia means is Pangea. So here you go disseminating these lies. You're perpetuating lies and your illusions. Asia was not the continent of Asia that we know today. We were calling Asia Pangea, saying that we go back to the beginning of time. I digress. Cracker man.
We want to go back to Africa. There was nothing like that. It's we are Asiatic, right? Instead of we're black. So that's what's going on there with that.
Sounds good. In Sheikh Ahmadine or anyone indigenous, I mean, in 2024, I think someone could learn Arabic in 6 months with online help. There's a lot of help. Like to learn in 2024 is so much easier. 100 years ago, because I found even a newspaper clipping that Sheikh Ahmadine was teaching Arabic to his followers who didn't know if he's even teaching them the right Arabic. Here, let me pull it
Right.
uh, it seems like and yeah, everyone sees the word Negroes there. That's such a terrible word in 2024 to use. It's like, even though it's acceptable to say the Negro Leagues, and there's a lot going on with baseball right now with the Negro Leagues, and even with Willie Mays passing. I'm like a big baseball guy, so
right.
I love baseball. I love Willie Mays.
Cultural dick rider. That's what you are, Bashir.
etc. I love the Negro Leagues. I remember Triple Play '96 had the Negro League players implemented in it, and you could unlock like Josh Gibson.
Yes.
He's this amazing catcher, and etc. So, that was a much different time, and you could run scam much easier. In the '90s, cops used to think I was Mexican, and I would just go with it. I would just give them, like, what's my name, Jose. I could say any, forget the 20s and the 30s. In the 90s, you could say anything, and no one would double check. No one would know where you came from. No one would know anything. So,
there were others too that, of course, they were claiming to be Arabs. Okay, right? You have Farad. He's saying he's from Mecca. Um, some of these other leaders, they were claiming that they came from the Sudan or things like that, and you just can't verify it or confirm it, or they would.
You can verify it now. And also, the Sudan was from Senegal to Somalia. The Sudan now that we have today is broken down to a country. Sudan was considered the whole Sahel region. So here you go again, breaking up and having an era in your mind. All you want to do is just break up, tear up, and destroy. That's all you want to do. Just destroy everything. Actually, today people can prove these things, which is how I found out that I have Luya, which is East African, in my ancestry. Just as much Luya as I have Native American, to be exact. And I think Luya is very, very much more important to me. Okay, that's what links me to the pharaohs. That's pretty cool, right?
Claim that one of their parents was from the Congo or things of that nature. Now, one thing that disappointed some of the early converts to, well, I mean, as far as they were concerned, they were converting to Islam, and they thought they were converting to like a form of mainstream Orthodox Islam. But some of them realized that, wait a second, you people are not looked favorably upon in the Muslim world. I'm referring to the Ahmadiyya Qadiani. Some black people felt that they had been duped and deceived. And they were also using this thing. Like the Ahmadiyya first started trying to convert white people. And by and large, they did not succeed. Okay. And so some of them started to teach Sufism and so on. That appealed to like educated white people.
That was Wafdi Muhammad. He just showed a quick picture of
People, much more than.
Okay, so the white people wanted to do magic instead of learning the truth. Is that what you're saying? And the whole plan was to have Islam rise in the West, a worldwide Islam, a Jamaat, a Caliphate. So that would include the world. Islam is the only religion that says everyone. The Bible literally makes people racist. Clearly, what you probably brought up on, Mr. Morrow, in your mind, in your childhood, you were brought up on Dajjal.
Than just the other versions of Islam that were being taught. And so they couldn't get converts among whites, but the black people were very receptive to that message.
So Al Islam was Black people were very receptive to Al Islam, but the white people of this land, yet Jews were not Jews, they didn't really pick it up. I wonder why. Islam has always been something for the downtrodden, for all people to make things right. Islam has always had free slaves and it rights for women and children, and equality. Islam has always been revolutionary. Islam was illegal to teach your slaves Islam in Americas, but they would keep them in the church. I wonder why. The church, the Bible teaches you to be subservient to your master, even though they may have taken out passages that said otherwise. But the whole Quran in Islam was deemed unacceptable to teach Muslims because the whole Quran would be too revolutionary and it actually would have truths and it probably would start converting some of these slave masters.
And so they focused, and sometimes among the Ahmadiyya, they'd have one missionary who would like focus on white people and another one would focus on who had expertise dealing with blacks. And so they had to use this stuff, this rhetoric that, for they had to associate Islam with Africa, all right, and African culture and the
Islam is African. What are you talking about? The first hijrah was in Africa. The first king to accept Islam on a governmental level was an African king. You see how this devil likes to go through? And devil meaning deceiver. This is what Elijah Muhammad saying the white man is a devil, but Mirza Ghulam Ahmed said the Western cultures are Dajjal. You see the similarities? All right, this is a devil right here. Pay attention.
roots and to try to build up the pride of people. Okay, you know, and so they were
It definitely was something to build up the pride of people, especially being held down for half a millennia. But you don't like that, right? You don't like people to have equal footing, right? We had to blow life into people, you know.
trying to reconnect with their heritage and their ancestry and the languages that they had lost. And some of them, they thought that they were learning Arabic, but and in actual fact, they were being taught Urdu. And so we have these missionaries coming here, right? And, teaching Urdu to Black.
What's the origin of Urdu? Let me know in the comments. What's the origin of Urdu?
People. And then, they didn't know. But when they found out that actually this is a language spoken in like India and Pakistan and so on, they said, what's this? We want to learn Arabic, because Arabic, it's not from Africa. It's spoken in many parts of Africa, North Africa especially. And even if it's not like an indigenous language from Africa.
Arabic is spoken all over Africa where there is a Muslim. There's madrasas everywhere. It might be Fushuf, but it is Arabic nonetheless. Fushuf meaning our international language because it is the language that Jibreel had revealed the message of Allah to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Africa, it's at least the liturgical language of Islam. It's the religious language. It's a language of scholarship. So you're able to connect with Muslims, right? And so maybe not the average Muslim, but I've traveled far and wide in the Muslim world to isolated little villages of Muslims in like Vietnam and the swamps and stuff. And of course, I can't communicate with the local people, but there's usually an imam or a sheikh or someone, and you can get by in like Arabic with them in Fusha. Whether you're there or you're in Afghanistan, or same thing in China. In China, I would, the average Chinese Muslim in the halal restaurant doesn't speak Arabic, but when you go to the mosque, at least you can talk to the sheikh, right, or the imam. And so, it's kind of like our international language. But yes, they were being taught Urdu and they were thinking, and also it was very popular, in the 20s and 30s and so on. Had you gone to Detroit and, Black Bottom and everything in these places, you would have found people in like all kinds of different garbs, foreign garbs and so on. So yeah, but so again, I find it hilarious and sad at the same time when I bump into African Americans who are dressed like Afghans, like you're dressed like a Pashtun from head to toe. Okay.
You find that funny? Do you find it funny when we wear suits and bow ties, in ties and top hats, looking like a white man. You like that? Hmm? How about you, Dick Eater Bashir? You think that's funny? You talking about all this Tupac shit? You don't know shit about the Nation of Islam. You don't know shit about the Nation of Gods and Earths. Okay, nor how they founded hip hop. You think you a hip hop head? Oh, the Negro League is so awesome because I'm not dexterous at all. Like, come on. It,
And or others that are dressed like Arabs, or they're dressed like Moroccans, or this and that.
African garb is actually, even if you're Muslim not, is very similar to Arab because it is modest. They have long flowing robes and things like that, anyways. Okay, so that's just another crack of lies. What are you talking about? We got an African in the chat right now. They have some beautiful clothes that you would mistake for being Ethiopian or Middle Eastern, but it would actually be Senegalese. Okay, it would be Hausa. Okay, Fulani. Okay, some Fulani things look very Pakistani. All right, it is human to have modesty, long flowing robes. That was the clothing of our ancestors. Period.
And they're so proud to be black, but everything about you screams you're a fake, you're an appropriator, and so on. This
This is crazy. An appropriator coming from a Dr. John Andrew Morrow is insane. You are the appropriator of every culture you go to. You're the scourge of the earth. If you have not changed your life, repented, gone against your father's ways, and joined Jamatu Ahmadiyya, then you are just Yatruj wa Matruj. And you are just of Dajjal.
is not your culture. This is not your heritage. Why don't you wear African attire?
Now you want to tell us what our culture and what our heritage is. Again, there are Muslim Africans, Christian Africans, that they have these thobe-like clothings. Okay, they have these long, flowing, beautiful, decent clothings. All right. Were there many Africans here, or were there many so-called Middle Easterns or South Asians here? How would we know? Why didn't we know? Oh, because you brought us from those same evil African kings that sold us, but you want us to dress like the evil African kings that sold us into slavery to your daddy. Interesting, Cracker John.
All right. There are plenty of Muslims, black Muslims in Africa. And,
And what do they dress like? Do they wear turbans? Do they wear head wraps? Do they have long flowing clothes? Do they wear sandals? Air Jesuses? Yes, 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 yes. You're just a wicked liar.
learn one of those languages, dress like they do.
Why we gotta learn the language of the same another evil person within the hand of our pain? Africans say, "Are you happy that you went through slavery? Because now you get to live in America." America would not be this powerful place of America if it wasn't for the raping, the slaughtering, okay, countless other things, psychological, mind control. What are you talking about? It wouldn't be America because when white people came here and they tried to set up societies and civilization, they failed. Look up Roanoke. Okay, look up these pilgrims. Okay, they failed. They failed every time, and they were weak. They failed every time. America would not be America without the sub-Saharan, because you're a subspecies. It would not be America. Okay, Cracker John.
But a lot of these people, they've realized that, what do we have that's actually African? I mean, besides some DNA. And in some cases, I mean, there are many African Americans who, I mean, even genetically are primarily European.
Now he's switching it up. Now he's saying people are European, and then now he's saying, then he said, "Oh wait, they're black." Well, make your mind up. If we are the world, why can't we be the world? Are you jealous because you're a genetic phenotype? You're a generic genetic phenotype, or just of I'm a pumpkin?
Okay, and I have friends.
Crazy. Keep going back.
You're not Mexican enough if you live north of Bakersfield.
All of the Ottoman Empire, but they're perceived to be Turkish people because I guess when they came across on their papers and everything, where
I'm one of the
I was talking about these people in Mexico called the Masturki, things like that. So you're not Turkish, you're not this, you're not that. Oh, but there was an empire, so they were considered it. You keep going back on stuff. You keep that is very deceptive. What are you trying to get across? Because you're not disseminating any information. All it is confusion. Clearly, Johnny.
the Arabs or something. You know, even we
Yeah.
street slang. Even though I'm not even Arab, but
Right.
he could understand.
And he would say that he was Arab. Oh, it's just because so he could understand what they were saying. Okay, maybe that's what they was doing back in the 1900s. Maybe niggas didn't know what the fuck a Pakistani was or didn't know about Greater India, so they were saying they were Arab and things like that. It's because Islam had came from the Arabian Peninsula. Well, the Quran had came from the Arabian Peninsula. Do you not see the correlations? You see that face? That's a smiling defeat, but I'm still white and I say so face. And then Bashir just proved this went against his point. You know, he's just being a goofball, you know what I mean? But he did the same shit. He's telling the cracker man that. So he understands.
You know, because to him, Arabs, Indians, Pakistani, what difference does it make? But
Yeah, it's funny when you mentioned that. Like, you know, I mean, I've traveled a lot through Latin America and so on, and you know, I'd hear Mexicans talking about los turcos, the Turks, and in El Salvador, los turcos, and like los turcos. And actually, they're not Turcos, they're not Turkish people, they're actually Arab people. They're primarily Syrian Lebanese. They've been there since the 1800s, 1900s.
Syrian Lebanese ain't even Syrian Lebanese. These are also Roman peoples that are also mixed breed, but you're not saying that because that pink meat has been all over the world, sir.
They came in huge waves after the, you know, before the fall of the Ottoman Empire and after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. But they're perceived to be Turkish people because I guess when they came across on their papers and everything, I mean, you know, these Arab countries that we know today didn't exist. It was the Ottoman Empire. And so you were Ottoman, that was your citizenship. And so you were Turkish. But the Ottoman Empire was comprised of many different ethnic and racial groups and religious groups and so on. So I thought that's funny. Another funny thing I found in Mexico was, you know, they kept talking about these, you know, indios blancos, right? Right, these white Indians, like these peasants. You know, they're Indians, they're white Indians. And I realized that they were actually Amish and they were Mennonites. Okay. But for, you know, a Mexican who drives a car.
You know how now people get offended if you don't say their name right, if you don't say their pronouns right or something.
Yes,
But
yes.
20 years ago, we didn't care.
Yes.
It was like,
yeah.
so what if he didn't say my name right? You know, if they're trying to make fun of me, okay, I can clown with them. You know what I mean? Like if you want to take it there, bro, it's like the basketball trash talk. You started it. Don't cry at the end of it. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I knew a guy who was from like Lebanon, and then like, you know, it's just, you know, these are funny anecdotes. You know, a delegation from the Nation of Islam, and it was that. It was the most hilarious thing. It was the most hilarious thing.
What year? What year? Because the year's important. The year's important.
No, this was just a few years ago.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know,
Okay.
it was like 2018 or something like that. That, you know, Arabs are black people. Okay.
Arabs are not Arabs because they have influctuations of different Arabs. But you will love that cracker, man, because you don't want black people to do anything positive. There's a movie called Bilal. It's a cartoon movie, and Omar Suleiman of the Yakin Institute said he doesn't know why the hero is looking like that. The hero actually looked like what Arabs must have looked like back then. Now, mind you, Bilal was an Ethiopian prince, enslaved, born into slavery. His mother was a princess, I meant to say, and his father was a black Arab, and he is considered jet black with very big bushy hair. Now, if there's all these white Arabs that you love and adore so much, then how the fuck would Bilal, radiallahu anhu, have these thick ass hair and jet black skin, sir? Sir?
Right. And they're like the
You're a weird white guy.
original man. And they couldn't understand. And another one, he kept going on and on because
Allah says the original Adam is a black man. Allah says original man is a black man. Allah says the original Adam is a black man made from black mud with no mother, no father. Allah said that. And also the likeness of Muhammad alayhi salam, sallallahu alayhi salam, to Musa alayhi salam is the same image of Adam alayhi salam to Isa. Have you ever heard that?
You know, it's I don't know what the latest numbers are, but the amount of people who go on like pilgrimage to Karbala for Arba'in, it even surpasses the amount of people who go to Hajj.
Ali is also considered a very black man of Muhammad's family. Okay, let's not forget that. All right, or is that just easier for your narrative? I think it's just easier for your narrative being a suspected white supremacist, sir. And frankly, it is disgusting.
So I think they were throwing around numbers like, 20 million people or something insane. Like that was like insane. And he was, how is it possible that there are millions and millions and millions of people here and not a single black person? Where are you hiding all the black people? Right. And the Iraqis were just as confused. Like, where are they getting these ideas from? But yes, like these type of notions, they're just lost on these people.
Ancient peoples of Mesopotamia were also called the blackheads and things like that. Maybe that's where it came from, or maybe because people were so into the Bible, they also understand what Cush was, okay, or Nimrud, okay, a descendant of Cush, descendant of Ham, Hama, okay, black. Did he not rule the entire globe? Okay, were we not all one nation at a time in the Quran Kareem? Yes, we were.
Yeah, that Arabs are blacks. Now, there
Original Arabs were very dark. Look up Omar Suleiman on the Yaqeen Institute. Okay, he is also Ahlul Hadith, so maybe you and him should have a discourse.
are Arabs who have black ancestry, uh, obviously because they descend from enslaved people, enslaved women.
You see, everything is always have to be slave, 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 slave. You see that? I met a Yemeni, okay, he said, I am so glad I have black blood. I said, what you mean, brother? He said, yes, I am Somali and Ethiopian also. Yes, yes. Mind you, some of the pure Arabs are from Yemen, okay? Very beautiful people. Very beautiful. And I didn't know that. Okay. And his wasn't from slavery.
Because the men were actually, the male slaves were castrated so they couldn't reproduce. But a lot of Arabs in the past had concubines and slave girls who were from Abyssinia and the Sudan or whatever.
That's true, they did. But what about the black side of it? What about the black kings of it? What are you talking about?
And so there are some of them but they don't identify as black. That if you call them,
Because they don't identify as black, you're going to respect that and not call them black, right? But when an a so-called African American or whatnot calls himself indigenous, you want to go ahead and say that that's not true. Maybe we have a part two, but I'm done with this Heidi Kum, this cunning devil, this Shetatin. Assalamu alaikum. All power to the Jamaat. You have a good one. Thank you for coming through.